Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you what lenses I don't use for portrait photography anymore and why. So just a disclaimer, these lenses I used to use all the time when I first started out doing photography, and the reason I don't use them anymore is because my style, my taste, and what I'm after has evolved since I first started many years ago. So I have nothing against these lenses that I'm going to be talking about today. They just simply don't fit what I do anymore in my personal work. And also on top of that, these lenses do still get used, but not so much for portrait photography, more for other things, which again, I'll get into as we go through this video. First lens on the list that I don't use for portrait photography anymore is the most perfect portrait photography lens, according to a lot of photographers, and that is the Canon 85mm 1.2. So here is a close-up of the 85. And this is what the lens looks like in the front. It's a bit smudgy, sorry. It's got like such a wide aperture, it's crazy. It's so big. It's like a Canon. I mean, look at it next to my head. It's humongous. This lens also weighs like a ton. It's like an elephant. So when I first started doing fashion photography and taking portraits, I used to use my Canon 50mm 1.4 lens all the time. It was the first lens I ever owned and used a lot. And then when I started to do photography a little more professionally, the 85mm was actually one of the first professional lenses that I saved up for ages to purchase. And when I got it, I used to use it for pretty much all my photography. And I'll include some example photos later of some really old work because I don't have that much recent work with it. So you can see what it looks like. But there is a few reasons why I don't really use it anymore in my current work. So if you've seen my last video of what lenses I do use at the moment, what my favorite lenses are, I'll link that one in the description below so you can check it out if you haven't already. So when I first started doing fashion photography, I was really obsessed with the depth of field look. I loved sharp portraits and a super blurry background with lots of bokeh. Like, I just love that style, which is why I first started on the 50mm, and that's why the 85mm was my next lens that I purchased. As you can see in some of these example images of my old work, this is what the 85mm looks like. It's super sharp and compressed. There is no distortion in the image because it's a telephoto lens, which has a really long focal length. And yeah, I just really love the way that the subject looks so detached from the background. Comparing that to now, I actually prefer using my 35mm lens for portrait photography because I love the more realistic look that it gives. I love that little bit of distortion to add some like quirkiness to the photo, and I love that you can see what the background actually looks like. In saying that, I do still use the 85 quite a lot. I use it for when I'm shooting ceremonies at weddings, and I also use it during the reception as it's so amazing in low light. And it also gives me that reach, so I don't have to get up in like everyone's faces and stand in front of the whole audience when someone's giving a speech, which is great. I can like stay back and still get a really beautiful like portrait shot with the 85. But yeah, so the 85 doesn't really get used that much for my portrait photography anymore. Definitely not my personal work. I stick to my 35 and my 50 because I like the style of that more. But yeah, it's still an amazing lens. It's really sharp. It's a little bit slow at focusing. The barrel kind of rolls up and down sometimes for a long time before deciding where the focal point is. But aside from that, if you kind of get the hang of how it focuses, it can be a really great lens as part of your kit. And I still love that I have it. Like, I wouldn't trade this in for anything else in the world. I do love this lens, just yeah, not for my personal work or fashion photography. Lens number 2 is the 24-70 Canon f2.8. I said that all backwards, but whatever. Ooh. Here's a close-up of the 24-70. I'll just spin it all around for you guys. And this is the front of the lens. And it has like, how do you make a zoom? There we go. I haven't used it in a while. And there's like the zooming. Yeah. So I think when it's on this side, it's on 24, and when it's on this side, it's on the 70mm end of the lens. Once again, this was one of my first purchases in professional lenses. I got this one after the 85mm. I was actually getting a lot into weddings at the time, so I wanted something with a zoom so I could be in like have a lot of different focal lengths without having to change out my lenses because I only had primes. Well, I only had the 50mm and the 85. So I wanted something to bridge the gap in between those two focal lengths, and something wide that can also zoom in was great for me at the time. So I used it a lot for weddings, for events, and I also actually took it out on quite a lot of fashion shoots too. So when I purchased this lens, I was actually working at a photography studio at the time. So the 24-70 was like a necessary part of my kit. So back when I was first starting out and my kit wasn't that big, I loved the 24-70 because of the variety of focal lengths that it had. And I actually tended to prefer to use the 24 end of the lens. So after time, I just ended up getting a 24mm instead. So now I actually have a whole kit of prime lenses, so I don't really need anything to bridge the gap in between them. I have wide angle, 24, 35, 50mm, 85, 135. So the 24-70 has kind of become irrelevant in my kit. And I just find that it's super heavy and I don't really need it, so I don't even bring it with me anymore, honestly, on shoots. Also, in saying that, the 24-70 could be great for you if that's a lens that you're interested in or a lens that you use, but at the same time, I bought this lens quite a while ago, so it is the Mach 1 as well. Now there is a Mach 2, which is a lot sharper, faster, it looks nicer. So once again, my lens is a bit outdated, so I don't use it anymore. I was actually thinking that it would be fun to kind of do a fashion photography challenge video and film a behind the scenes for you guys where I just use my 24-70 to shoot with. So that would take me way out of my comfort zone because I've used prime lenses like the 35 and the 50 for my portrait shoots for like the past 5 years or so. So I think that would be really interesting. So let me know if you want to see that because I'm willing to do that for you guys if that's something you're interested in. Those are pretty much the two lenses that I used to use all the time and just don't really use anymore for portrait photography and fashion photography. As I said, I do still use them for wedding photography, so they are still great lenses to use if you guys are interested. I'm not like bashing them or anything. I actually do still genuinely really like those lenses. But yeah, for my personal work, they just don't kind of work for me and my style anymore. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you all really soon. Bye!